What would you do if your neighbor, armed with a clipboard and a self-proclaimed title, stormed up your driveway to stop you from washing your own truck? This is the story of a quiet suburban showdown that escalated from a bucket of soap to a 911 call and uncovered a web of deceit that shook an entire neighborhood. My name's Tom Bradley, a 52-year-old contractor who just settled into a cozy cul-de-sac in Maple Grove, a suburban haven outside Minneapolis. I bought my first home here, a modest split level with a driveway perfect for my Ford F-150, the workhorse I use for hauling tools and materials. I'd heard whispers about the neighborhood's homeowners association, but my last HOA in St. Paul was a breeze, pay your dues, mow your lawn, no drama. Maple Grove, though, it was about to teach me a lesson in power trips and petty tyranny. The trouble started on a crisp Saturday morning in June. My truck was caked in mud from a week of site visits, so I hauled out my hose, sponge, and a bottle of car wash soap. The sun was shining, the Twins game was on my portable radio, and I was in my element. I'd barely lathered up the hood when I spotted her Eleanor Voss, the neighborhood's self-appointed queen. Eleanor, a wiry woman in her late 50s, strutted across the street in a navy blazer with HOA compliance officer embroidered in gold on the back. She clutched a notepad like it was a badge of honor. Her eyes locked on me like I'd just set fire to the community mailbox. I tried to play it cool, nodding as she approached, but Eleanor wasn't here for pleasantries. She stepped over the trickle of soapy water in my driveway like it was radioactive waste, planted her feet, and unleashed a tirade. "Mr. Bradley, you're in direct violation of HOA regulations," she barked. "Washing vehicles in driveways is prohibited. Cease immediately, or you'll face a $500 fine." Her voice carried the kind of authority that made you wonder if she'd rehearsed this in front of a mirror. I was stunned. "Eleanor, I've read the HOA handbook cover to cover. There's no rule against washing my truck here." I gestured to the suds. "It's just soap and water." But Eleanor wasn't interested in facts. She whipped out her phone, snapping photos of my truck like a paparazzo, muttering about property values and community standards. When I offered to grab my copy of the handbook, she cut me off. "I'm an officer of the HOA, and I have connections at City Hall. Don't make me use them." Connections? I almost laughed. Eleanor's husband, Gerald, was a local real estate developer, and she loved name-dropping his supposed influence. But something about her tone equal parts menace and desperation told me she wasn't bluffing. I kept scrubbing, hoping she'd tire herself out. Big mistake. Eleanor's face turned beet red, and she declared, "That's it. I'm calling the police. This is a dangerous situation." Dangerous? I was holding a sponge, not a flamethrower. Sure enough, 10 minutes later, a squad car rolled up. 2 officers stepped out, looking as confused as I felt. Officer Daniels, a stocky guy with a no-nonsense vibe, approached. "We got a call about a disturbance. Can someone explain?" Eleanor launched into a 5-minute saga, claiming my toxic chemicals were poisoning the neighborhood's children. She mentioned her HOA officer title 3 times, each with increasing gusto. I stood there, sponge in hand, mortified that these cops were wasting their time on this. I explained my side calmly. "It's just car soap, sir. The runoff's going straight to the storm drain." Officer Daniels glanced at the sewer grate 5 feet away, then back at Eleanor. "Ma'am, calling 911 for this is a misuse of emergency services. You two need to resolve this through the HOA." His partner, Officer Lee, added, "Let's not make this worse than it is." Eleanor sputtered but backed off, storming away with a glare that could melt steel. I smirked and went back to my truck, thinking that was the end of it. The next morning, I found a note taped to my front door. Printed in bold Comic Sans, it declared a $2,000 fine for unauthorized vehicle maintenance, payable to the HOA within 30 days, or I'd face eviction proceedings. No signature, no date, just HOA compliance officer scrawled at the bottom. It looked like something a middle schooler would whip up in Microsoft Word. My stomach churned, but I wasn't scared. I was mad. I'd dealt with bullies before on job sites, in traffic, even at family reunions. Eleanor wasn't just a nuisance, she was a fraud. I spent the next day digging. First, I scoured the HOA handbook. No mention of driveway car washing. Then I checked the neighborhood's Facebook group. Buried in the comments were horror stories, fake fines, threatening notes, neighbors too scared to fight back. One post mentioned Gerald trying to buy homes at bargain prices, hinting at a scheme to flip properties. The kicker? A retired lawyer in the group noted that the HOA had no compliance officer position. Eleanor wasn't even an elected board member. My blood boiled. This wasn't just about my truck. Eleanor was preying on people, banking on their fear or ignorance. I printed every damning post, email, and rule I could find, stuffing a folder with enough evidence to make a prosecutor blush. The HOA's next meeting was that Saturday, and I was ready to bring the house down. The meeting was held in the community center, a bland room with folding chairs and a flickering fluorescent light. About 20 neighbors showed up, plus the 5 board members, none of whom looked thrilled to be there. Eleanor sat at the front, smirking until she saw me walk in with my folder. Her confidence wilted as I took the floor during the open comment period. "Ladies and gentlemen," I began, "I was fined $2,000 for washing my truck in my driveway. Not only is there no rule against it, but the person issuing these fines, Eleanor Voss, isn't even a board member." Gasps rippled through the room. I handed out copies of my evidence. The fake fine, screenshots of her threats, and the lawyer's post debunking her title. Eleanor and her husband have been intimidating neighbors, issuing fake penalties, and possibly scheming to buy your homes cheap. This isn't an HOA. It's extortion. Eleanor tried to interrupt, claiming I was slandering a dedicated volunteer, but the board president, Mrs. Larson, shut her down. "Mrs. Voss, you'll have your turn." I wrapped up by showing that Eleanor had never been elected, violating the HOA's own bylaws. The room erupted in murmurs. Neighbors I'd never met started nodding, some whispering about their own run-ins with her. When Eleanor finally spoke, her defense was a rambling mess. "I've done nothing but protect this community," she insisted, but her voice cracked. The board didn't buy it. They suspended her on the spot, promising a full investigation. As we filed out, Eleanor avoided my gaze, her notepad clutched like a lifeline. I felt a quiet thrill, not just victory, but justice. A week later, I got a letter from the HOA. Handwritten by Mrs. Larson, it apologized for Eleanor's actions and confirmed her permanent removal from the board. The HOA was auditing its records and mailing similar letters to every resident, ensuring no one else fell victim to her scams. Gerald, it turned out, was under scrutiny by the city for shady real estate deals. The neighborhood felt lighter, like a storm cloud had finally passed. I celebrated with a cold IPA on my back porch, my truck gleaming in the driveway. It wasn't just about winning. It was about standing up to someone who thought they could bully their way to power. Maple Grove was my home now, and I'd help make it a little fairer. What do you think? Have you ever faced a bully like Eleanor, whether in an HOA, at work, or somewhere else? How did you handle it? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, especially on how we should deal with injustice and power trips in our communities. Your perspective matters, so let's get the conversation going.